Registrations are filling fast for Fast Track 2026, the VLGA's national one-day annual conference focused this year on incivility and its threat to local democracy. The event will bring together stakeholders from across the local government sector to address the rise of incivility in public discourse and its impact on democratic processes. It will explore how hostile behaviour, misinformation and the erosion of respectful dialogue threatens the effectiveness, safety and integrity of local governance. It's on Friday the 27th of February at the RACV City Club in Melbourne. To register and find out more, visit the events page at the VLGA website, vlga.org.au. Coming up, more scrutiny over a councillor's suspension last year. A council bans a local media outlet over reporting concerns. Frustration builds over illegal dumping in Greater Geelong. North Sydney's controversial rates decision survives a move to rescind. A councillor's comments condemned after a tragic road accident. A frank assessment of a troubled infrastructure project in Townsville. And a critical breakdown in governance laid bare at the City of Perth in a leaked report. Hello, I'm Chris Eddy, back with more news from and about councils across Australia and beyond on the Local Government News Roundup. Also today, the UK government reveals its list of postponed council elections, as well as those that are still going ahead this year. The Roundup is proudly brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. It's Friday the 23rd of January. A lot of news to catch you up on as we head into the Australia Day long weekend. Let's start with Kingston City Council in Victoria, which is under some new scrutiny this week after revelations that a councillor charged with criminal offences was allowed to remain in her position for nearly 3 months, despite state laws requiring her immediate suspension. Councillor Jane Agatan was charged on New Year's Day last year with breaching a personal safety intervention order. Under Victorian law, any councillor charged with an offence carrying at least 2 years' imprisonment must be stood down immediately. But the Age reports this week that despite awareness of the charges as early as February, Councillor Agatan wasn't suspended until almost 3 months later. During that time, she continued to vote on council matters, participating in at least 24 votes across 3 meetings, including several close decisions. The Age report suggests the status of those decisions is unclear as a result. The council's CEO, Peter Bean, said all required steps were taken once duly informed, noting that Councillor Agatan was legally obligated to notify the council herself, which she did not do until the 8th of April. Councillor Agatan avoided conviction in June after donating $2,000 to the Royal Children's Hospital, and she was reinstated. Local Government Minister Nick Stakos recently extended the tenure of municipal monitors at Kingston Council until the end of June, citing concerns about governance deficiencies. To Mornington Peninsula Shire Council now, which says it will no longer engage with the publisher of the Somerville Times and Peninsula Local due to concerns about reporting practices. In a statement, the Shire said that while it supports press freedom and accountability, it expects ethical conduct, accurate reporting and respectful behaviour from media organisations. The Roundup understands that an article published earlier this week about the reasons for the appointment of municipal monitors to the council may have been a final straw leading to the imposition of the ban. Steve Holland, a media relations consultant and former mayor of the Shire, told the Roundup that he finds the statement troubling and unprecedented. He said the action taken by the Shire doesn't live up to governance and public transparency principles and questions whether it has formal council authorisation. Former Greater Geelong Mayor and current councillor Trent Sullivan has confirmed his bid for Liberal Party pre-selection in the Western Victoria Upper House region ahead of the November state election, joining what party insiders predict will be a highly contested pre-selection battle, according to the Geelong Advertiser. He's the second Geelong councillor to confirm a parliamentary election bid, alongside Deputy Mayor Ron Nelson, who plans to contest the lower house seat of South Barwon. Meanwhile, in Greater Geelong, frustration over illegal dumping is building, with clean-up crews working overtime and ratepayers bearing the financial burden. City Works officers are spending nearly half their workday cleaning up illegally dumped rubbish, a dramatic increase from just a few years ago. Last financial year saw over 6,600 requests to remove dumped rubbish, and this year is tracking even higher, with more than 3,000 requests already lodged, costing ratepayers hundreds of thousands of dollars annually. The Victorian Government has allocated $8.5 million to assist councils with clean-up costs, but the council points out that community vigilance remains crucial. In the west of the state, Northern Grampians Shire Council says it's addressing community concerns about Pleasant Creek Cemetery in Stawell, clarifying that recent storm damage and debris is being cleaned up according to priority schedules. Mayor Karen Hislop said some of the concerns are outside the council's scope of responsibility, noting that families are responsible for maintaining individual grave sites and monuments under state regulations. She said the council has allocated $400,000 to expand cemetery capacity for the next 40 years, with the lifespan at the moment estimated at 1 to 2 years based on current interment rates. Latrobe City Council has welcomed Keppel's proposed $10 billion data centre for Morwell, which would be Australia's largest. It will leverage existing infrastructure from the former Hazelwood Power Station site to create significant employment opportunities. Mayor Sharon Gibson said the project is critical for the region's economic transition. Murrindindi Shire Council has temporarily suspended its road management plan for 3 months due to the Longwood fire event, allowing resources to be redirected to emergency response efforts. While high-risk roads and urgent repairs remain a priority, normal road services will be gradually reinstated as the situation stabilises and the council assesses capacity. Brimbank Council has written to the Department of Transport expressing concerns about the state of grassed areas along arterial roads in the municipality. It follows a growing number of complaints from residents expressing safety concerns, according to the Star Weekly. And in Wodonga, a council ride-on lawnmower caught fire on Gateway Island near the Lincoln Causeway yesterday morning, becoming fully engulfed in flames around 9 a.m. The Border Mail reported that Fire Rescue Victoria crews responded within 6 minutes and extinguished the blaze in 5 minutes, though the machine was completely destroyed. I have some council tech news for you. Melton City Council has successfully launched Phase 1 of its One Council SaaS Plus platform with Technology One, bringing over 1,000 staff onto the system with core modules for finance, HR, payroll and content management. The digital transformation positions the rapidly growing council to deliver more efficient services to its 200,000 plus residents in Melbourne's west. And the City of Burundara in Melbourne has selected Datacom's cloud-based Datascape platform to replace legacy systems and modernise its property rates and permits functions as part of the Transforming Burundara program. The platform will streamline council operations across multiple areas, including planning, building, land management, rates and permits, while also incorporating AI-driven automation and custom functionality. Also happening now, Yarra City Council is purchasing a 1,500 square metre parcel of land in Richmond for $3.4 million from VicTrack to preserve as public open space in response to the suburb's growing population. The City of Casey has launched a nationally scalable guide to improve road safety around schools, providing councils with evidence-based strategies, practical tools and case studies to reduce child, pedestrian and cyclist injuries. The initiative was developed with $250,000 in federal funding. And Whitehorse City Council has laid claim to the number one position among metropolitan Melbourne councils for street tree planting. It says it planted 3,654 new street trees in 2025. It's unclear how far that puts it ahead of other councils. You are listening to the Local Government News Roundup for Friday the 23rd of January, brought to you by the VLGA with support from Symphony 3. Out of New South Wales now, and North Sydney Council has resolved to apply to IPART for a 52.66% cumulative rates increase over 3 years. to ensure financial sustainability and infrastructure management. A snap council meeting was called for Wednesday morning after Councillor Jessica Keane sought to have the decision overturned through a rescission motion. The North Sydney Sun reported that the motion was defeated along the same voting lines, 7-3, as the initial decision on Monday. Councillor Keane claims she was prevented from exercising a right of reply when the Mayor put the matter to a vote after two speakers debated for and against the rescission motion. The application must be submitted by Monday the 2nd of February, after which IPART will conduct public consultation. Oberon Council has expressed profound sorrow and shock over the loss of two young lives in a tragic road accident near Black Springs this week, extending deepest sympathy to affected families and community members. Mayor Andrew McKibben referred to inappropriate social media comments made by a councillor regarding the accident. He said the comments fell well short of the expectation that elected representatives act with compassion, restraint and respect, and that the council unequivocally disassociates itself from the comments. Mayor McKibben said they were inappropriate, insensitive and not reflective of the values, views or standards of the council. Wagga Wagga City Council is pushing for federal government action as regional communities across the Riverina face a banking crisis. At Monday night's council meeting, councillors voted to pressure Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and Treasurer Jim Chalmers to establish government-run banking services in regional post offices. Region Riverina reported that the motion, introduced by Councillor Richard Foley, follows a Senate inquiry into regional bank closures that recommended a regional community banking branch program to help underwrite banking services in rural areas. Since 1975, the Riverina has lost more than two-thirds of its bank branches, dropping from 78 to fewer than 25 today. The council will now write to federal ministers, urging them to implement the inquiry's recommendations and restore banking access to regional communities. More tech news for you today. Blacktown City Council has launched Daisy, an AI-powered digital planning assistant that provides 24/7 access to planning information and helps residents prepare development applications by understanding requirements and checking submission readiness. The tool was developed with New South Wales Government support to improve application quality and reduce delays, particularly for the 80% of applications from individual residents seeking to build, renovate or subdivide properties. Also happening now, Yass Valley Council has voted to retain the Parkwood housing precinct within its local government area. CEO Gayleen Burley said the decision was based on financial modelling, showing it will deliver net benefits to the council and region once the development accommodates around 13,000 residents across 5,600 homes. Glen Innes Severn Council has secured $50,000 from the New South Wales Rugby League, matched by council funds, to add two full-size rugby league fields at Kerrymead Park, doubling capacity to 4 fields for nearly 300 players. And Parkes Shire Council is implementing heat relief measures for an upcoming heat wave, including designating the library as a cool area, offering free pool entry from Sunday to Friday, and providing misting fans at Australia Day celebrations. Support for the Roundup comes from Symphony 3, which allows councils to connect their systems securely to automate data flows and monitor performance in real time. In recent weeks, Symphony 3 has worked with councils around Victoria, including Greater Bendigo, Mildura, Ararat and Golden Plains, to create emergency dashboards. The Golden Plains dashboard is now online with real-time data feeds to keep the community updated and safer in times of emergency. By adopting the Symphony 3 emergency dashboard, the council now has a single real-time source of truth during fast-moving events. An emergency dashboard is cost-effective and can be deployed in just 3 days. Find out more at www.symphony3.com. The new Mayor of Townsville, Nick Demetto, has delivered a frank assessment of the troubled Horton Pipeline project, revealing it will require hundreds of millions of dollars more to complete. Mayor Demetto said the project was launched without a robust business case and was significantly underestimated from the beginning. The pipeline is designed to secure long-term water security for Townsville's growing population. Initially budgeted at $274 million in 2021, with the state contributing $195 million. But documents showing the costs were already forecast in early 2021 at $370 million, with significant issues identified in the pump station's location and design. Mayor Demetto says the council has now invested $85 million in total, with an additional $6 million allocated in the mid-year budget review. More than 60 kilometres of pipeline will be installed by early 2026. He emphasised the project cannot be abandoned, stating the pipeline must be operational by 2032 to meet projected water demands. The Mayor of Ipswich, Teresa Harding, is calling for tougher rules on who can run for local council, saying voters shouldn't have to rely on candidates being honest about their past. The Gold Coast Bulletin reported that Mayor Harding wants the state government to introduce stricter eligibility requirements for council candidates, pointing to the case of former Townsville Mayor Troy Thompson. Mayor Harding says the Local Government Act requirements fall well short of the vetting done for state and federal candidates. She's proposing candidates be required to provide police history reports, traffic records, proof of qualifications and evidence of Defence Force service. And she also wants those with domestic violence orders in the past decade to be disqualified. Gold Coast City Council has announced a major enforcement blitz targeting dangerous and unregistered dogs after elderly residents reported being too frightened to swim at local beaches. The Gold Coast Bulletin reported the issue came to light at a planning committee meeting recently, where councillors Gail O'Neill and Josh Martin raised concerns about off-leash dogs on unpatrolled beaches. The Gold Coast has nearly 71,000 registered dogs, but the council estimates another 70,000 remain unregistered, with many young owners apparently believing that microchipping their pet means it's registered. Recent market research shows 30% of people cite the cost as a reason for not registering, while 8% simply don't see the point. And Noosa Shire Council's efforts to regulate short-term accommodation have led to almost 200 properties transitioning back to long-term rental over the past 2 years, helping address local housing shortages for essential workers. The council says its short-stay local law, introduced in 2022, has proven effective, with 94% of complaints resolved within 30 minutes and 96% of properties operating without issues. And Mayor Frank Wilkie is encouraging more property owners to consider switching to long-term rental to support community needs.
I'm just recently written to the owners of short-term accommodation properties, asking them to consider relinquishing their short-term accommodation approval to put their house back on the long-term rental market. Last time we did this in 2023, we successfully encouraged more than 60 short-stay approval holders to return their properties back into the long-term rental pool.
That's the Mayor of Noosa Shire, Frank Wilkie, on the council's successful efforts to regulate short-term accommodation. To Tasmania now, and a Northern Midlands councillor has publicly called for the termination of the council's general manager, posting his motion on Facebook ahead of this month's council meeting. The council's general manager, Des Jennings, has been on personal leave since mid-September. That's approximately 4 months of absence, which McCullough argues gives council the right to end his employment contract. The two have a contentious history. Mr Jennings previously brought a stayed defamation case against the councillor over emails and Facebook posts, and a Supreme Court determination later found the complainant's use of ratepayer funds for related legal fees was illegal and arguably corrupt. The council has confirmed that Mr Jennings remains general manager and is on personal leave, but won't comment further. That story comes from The Examiner. Hobart City Council has unanimously approved a $35 million mixed-use development on the long-vacant former Wynn television site in Newtown. Pulse Tasmania reported that the project will include 23 residential apartments, 38 short-stay accommodation units and various commercial facilities. The development is expected to address concerns about the eyesore site. And now to that major story out of Western Australia. A leaked confidential report reveals the City of Perth is experiencing a critical breakdown in governance due to unresolved tensions between the council and administration. A WA Today story reports that conditions are comparable to those that led to the council's suspension in 2018. The leaked report identifies significant psychosocial hazards, including verbal aggression, intimidation and eroded trust, concluding that internal repair mechanisms have failed and the situation now requires external intervention. ABC News has also seen the report, which claims inappropriate workplace behaviour is mostly directed at women. The report was based on interviews conducted with 14 members of staff and executive and elected members. Business News reported that a confidential meeting of the Council's Audit and Risk Committee discussed the report this week, with recommendations to deal with psychosocial risk to be considered. Lord Mayor Bruce Reynolds said late yesterday that he accepted the report's recommendations, which provide opportunities to address systemic workplace challenges. As we've reported previously, the state's new local government inspector has now appointed a monitor to the City of Perth, so that won't be the last we're hearing of those issues. Let's go across to New Zealand now, where Christchurch City Council has criticised the New Zealand government's proposed rates cap of 2 to 4% as unrealistic and unworkable, arguing the policy lacks proper consideration and evidence-based design. The press reported that the council's draft submission into the policy states the cap needs essential design changes to be feasible for local government operations. The council has also taken aim at the government's emergency management bill for imposing significant new costs and duties on local authorities without providing adequate resourcing or national support. The council wants a national implementation plan with clear guidance, proper resourcing and realistic timeframes to make the new emergency management system workable. In the UK, the government there has now formally announced the changes to local council elections as part of a major reorganisation of local government across England. 29 local authorities will have their May elections postponed to allow them to focus on streamlining their operations. However, elections will still go ahead as planned for 34 other councils undergoing reorganisation. Housing Secretary Steve Reid described this as a once-in-a-generation reform aimed at ending the outdated two-tier council system that currently affects 1 in 3 people in England. The reform will cut around 5,000 councillor positions and eliminate a number of highly paid senior roles. Where elections are postponed, existing councillors will have their terms extended. Elections for the new unitary councils are expected in May 2027, with the new authorities becoming operational by April 2028. In related news, Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council removed its Labor leader Chris Watkins through a vote of no confidence after he requested that local elections scheduled for May 5 be postponed. Labor has retained control of the council by installing Deputy Steve Hay as the new leader, who reversed course and committed to holding elections as planned. And that is reflected in the list released today by the government. BBC News reports that the Green Party has won a Derbyshire County Council seat from Reform UK in the first gain of its kind in England. Meanwhile, Reform UK won a separate Amber Valley Borough Council by-election by a significant margin. A fake AI-generated video of Gloucester's Mayor Ashley Barkett has reportedly been used in an online stunt during a dispute over the city's finances. Localgov.co.uk reported that the video was created by a councillor falsely depicting the mayor refusing to allow investigation into £8 million of missing funds. Mayor Barkett has condemned the stunt, clarifying that he never refused public debate. He said he remains open to honest disagreement but will not be influenced by threats or misinformation. From the US, San Juan County in Washington state has permanently adopted a 32-hour work week for most government employees after a successful 2-year trial that it says saved an estimated $2 million. The Seattle Times reported that the trial also increased job applications by over 200% and reduced employee turnover by 28%. The program, which maintains full pay while reducing hours, has improved recruitment and retention in the remote community, with employees reporting better work-life balance and the county maintaining service levels despite initial scheduling challenges. And out of Canada, Vancouver City Council has voted down a motion to reinstate the city's living wage policy, with only 4 of the city's 11 councillors supporting it, according to CTV News. The decision means hundreds of thousands of city workers will continue earning below the $27.85 per hour living wage needed to cover basic expenses in Metro Vancouver. The city currently uses a fair wage model of $25.04 per hour based on a 5-year rolling average, which critics argue prioritises budget predictability over workers' ability to afford living costs. And there you have the latest from the Local Government News Roundup, edition number 542, recorded on the morning of Friday the 23rd of January. I think the summer hiatus is officially over. Lots of news in that edition, lots more to come after the Australia Day long weekend. It's all brought to you by our founding sponsor, the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. Check out those emergency dashboards, the new one at Golden Plains, online now. The Roundup is recorded in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. I'll be back with more very soon. Until next time, thanks for listening and bye for now. Support for the Roundup comes from Symphony 3. Councils around the country are working hard to keep their communities safe and prepared before, during and after emergencies such as bushfires and floods. And in recent weeks, Symphony 3 has been working with councils around Victoria, including Greater Bendigo, Mildura, Ararat and Golden Plains, to create emergency dashboards, pulling together live data including weather, traffic, emergency incidents, unplanned and planned disruptions, news and social media feeds. An emergency dashboard is cost-effective and can be deployed in just 3 days. Find out more at www.symphony3.com.